My husband has been bedridden for 20 years due to heart failure. For the past 20 years I have dragged my tired body to take care of him day and night. Finally he passed away and the lawyer came to announce the will. Mr. Liam's Chuyu's estate will be divided equally between Aurora Shun and Zane Chu. All the properties under his name were transferred to Aurora Shun. I was so angry that I almost fainted on the spot and asked loudly, why did my husband's inheritance go to other women? But what about me? The son said coldly, Mom, you have deprived my dad and Aunt Shin of their love. Now that dad has passed away, isn't it right to give Aunt Shin some compensation? My father is dead now. Are you still unwilling to let us go? I lowered my head and laughed out loud. What a great us. He probably forgot that everything he and his son have was given by me. Liam's Ju being prepared for burial. I just felt a chill in my heart. If I hadn't insisted on coming here today to watch his burial, I might not have known about this will until I died. I still remember when Liam's Ju was dying, he specifically told me not to get involved in his funeral. He said he didn't want me to see him in such a state. He even gave me a gold bracelet saying it was the only thing he could give me now. But in the end he left all his properties to Aurora Shun. I didn't even know these properties existed. Left a way out for Aurora Shun without telling me. I have been with him since I was 20 years old and have been married for 48 years. These 48 years have not allowed me to see clearly what kind of person he is. I took a deep breath, tried to control my emotions and asked in confusion, Why are you doing this to me? I was the one who took care of your dad the whole time. But you treated me like this in the end. Zaneshu sneered and said with disdain, Now that things have come to this, do you have to quarrel in front of dad? He's dead. Why can't you let him go? You're going to torture him even after he's dead. I felt a heart attack when I saw my own son whom I had raised for 20 years dared to disobey me like this. My hands were shaking and even my breathing became rapid. You are so presumptuous. I'm your mother. How dare you talk to me like that? Have you considered me when doing this? Zaneshu said without thinking. I will bury you even if you die. What are you afraid of? Aunt Shin, she's alone now. Shouldn't we take better care of her? How can you be so cruel? I was so angry that I almost vomited blood on the spot. I wondered if he had forgotten. It was me who took care of Liam Ju day and night by his bedside. He was unable to get out of bed due to heart failure. I took care of his eating, drinking, defecating and urinating by myself and never complained about the hard work. And Zaneshu frowned in disgust just by looking at it. I have given so much to this family but no one cares. I kept my grievances to myself and gave instructions to the butler beside me. Since he cares so much about the world and other women, don't bury him. Save this coffin money for Aurora Shun's retirement. Zaneshu heard this. He panicked instantly. He stood in front of the coffin and shouted loudly, No, I wonder who dares to touch my dad. Mom, how could you do this? Are you doing this to my dad? I sneered and immediately retorted, Then are you worthy of me? I have devoted a full 48 years to this family. I devoted all my youth to my family. Liam Zhu alone. But Liam Shu loved other women until his death. What about me? Who am I? A huge feeling of unwillingness and anger made it hard for me to breathe. If I could turn back time, I really want to ask him in person. Ask him why he did this to me. Why do you keep lying to me? The butler ordered the bodyguard beside him to control Zaneshu. Then he and several strong men carried Liam Shu's coffin up. I glanced at him and said coldly, Take him out of the coffin and dump him somewhere. This cemetery is given directly to other people. Zaneshu panicked as soon as he heard this and he yelled at me, Mom, you can't do this. If you do this, I will die and be buried with my father. I will tell him in person how vicious you are. I won't let him go even if I die. He shouted and struggled desperately as if he was driven crazy and even the bodyguards could hardly hold him down. The butler at the side hurried over to mediate. Master, how can you speak to the madam like that? Ma'am, don't be angry. Calm down first. We have to talk it out as a family. Hearing this, I calmed down a little. I looked at my son whose eyes were bloodshot and full of hatred and I couldn't help feeling sad. Our relationship had finally improved a bit, but now it's become strained again. Ever since Liam Zhu was diagnosed with heart failure, he has looked at me like an enemy. In his heart I am the murderer of his father. But it is true. That year Liam Zhu and I fell in love and were ready to get married. But my parents firmly disagreed with this marriage. Because Liam Zhu's family was not well off, his parents thought he was attracted by my money. Later Liam Zhu worked hard to make money in order to prove himself. He works day and night and he can work 20 hours out of 24 hours. My parents were moved by his perseverance and finally agreed to the marriage. After getting married, Liam did not slack off and continued to work non-stop. He was so busy that he wasn't even there when I gave birth. After the child was born, I was the one who took care of him and raised him while he worked hard to make money. Not long after, he was diagnosed with heart failure. The cause of the disease is excessive workload on the heart. Because he worked for long hours exceeding a certain limit, the myocardial structure and function lost their compensatory ability and heart failure occurred. Zainju, who had always been cold to me, roared when he learned about this. "It's all your fault. You're the one who killed my dad." Since then our relationship has become increasingly strained. He even moved out of the old house, saying it was unlucky to stay with me. Out of guilt I gave him everything I could. I am even prepared to hand over the position of chairman of the board of directors to him. Snap! Suddenly something fell to the ground. I looked up and saw a diary falling from Liam's. I was about to pick it up when Zainju suddenly yelled at me. "You are not allowed to touch it. That's my dad's stuff. You can't touch it." I was stunned and asked in confusion, "What? Is there something shameful in there?" As if what I said hit the nail on the head, Zainju bit his lip guiltily and quickly made an excuse. "My dad said no one can move." I looked at him with contempt, picked up the notebook and said disdainfully, "Then I'd like to see what's written on it." I am very unfamiliar with this notebook. As far as I know, Liam's doesn't keep a diary. He said he liked to record things in his head because he was too lazy to write. The notebook was thick and every page was filled with writing. I opened the first page with some trembling. The first word that caught my eye was "I'm sorry." But he didn't say that to me, he said that to Aurora Shun. Zainju got scared instantly and kept shouting at me, "Mom, don't look. Everything inside is fake." I pretended not to hear and concentrated on reading my diary, but the more I looked down, the more my heart ached. The first diary page was written the day before our wedding. "I'm sorry. I'm getting married because this is my only chance to change my fate. I don't want you to suffer with me anymore. I will give you a sum of money every month from now on. I hope you can live happily." I rubbed my eyes in disbelief, but I found that this was indeed Liam's handwriting. I suppressed the heartache and turned the page. "He didn't expect that you and she would get pregnant on the same day. I won't let our child suffer." I took him back to the Zhu family. From now on, he will be the heir of the Zhu family. How have you been recently? Xiaoming has already called you Mom. It's a pity that I didn't let him be the first to call you Mom. I've been so tired from work lately, but when I think of you and your son, I become more motivated. I must make sure you live a good life. Xiaoming has learned to walk. When she is not at home one day, I will bring him to see you. Suddenly a tear fell on the diary and wet the letter paper. Turns out everything is fake. He married me just to bring me home and give Aurora Shun a good life. He worked hard not to marry me but for Aurora Shun. Even when he wasn't there when I gave birth, it wasn't because he was busy with work. But Aurora Shun was also pregnant and he wanted to stay with her. He even switched our own child. I have been raising his and Aurora Shun's children for more than 20 years. He has such a cruel heart. I couldn't hold it in any longer and fainted on the spot. When I woke up, I was already lying in the hospital. "Grandma, you finally woke up." Suddenly a small figure ran up to me. She handed me the apple in her hand and said with a smile, "Grandma, eat an apple. The doctor said eating more apples is good for your health." I rubbed her head lovingly, my eyes a little wet. My daughter-in-law came up to me and said worriedly, "Mom, I was scared to death when I heard you were in the hospital. Your body is your own, so don't get angry all the time." After saying that, she opened the corn and pork rib soup in her hand and put it to the corner of my mouth. She said tentatively as she fed me, "I heard you and Zane had another fight." I didn't say anything, just nodded silently. The daughter-in-law sighed and said seriously, "You are already old. Why are you still arguing with him? He has a stubborn temper. Besides, Dad is gone, so why are you holding on to this matter so tightly? Maybe Zane doesn't know either, so why don't we just forget about it?" After saying that, the little granddaughter looked at me with her big eyes blinking. I took a deep breath and said calmly, "You guys go back first. I want to be alone." After hearing this, the little granddaughter took her daughter-in-law's hand and said obediently, "Grandma, I'll come see you tomorrow." I agreed with a smile. Just as I walked out the door, the little granddaughter suddenly asked, "Mom, when will the other grandma take me to the park? She promised me last time." The daughter-in-law was stunned and immediately covered her granddaughter's mouth. The little granddaughter pulled her hand down with some disgust and said seriously, "Mom, you can't cover other people's mouths casually. That grandma said it's wrong." My daughter-in-law was a little flustered and immediately explained to me, "Mom, don't think too much. She was talking about a grandmother in the community who usually treated her like her granddaughter." And the little granddaughter interrupted her in confusion, "Mom, you're not right. I don't know any grandmas in the neighborhood. I'm talking about my own grandmother." The daughter-in-law hurriedly pulled her granddaughter and was about to leave. I couldn't help but speak out, "Tantian, come back." When the little granddaughter heard this, she let go of her daughter-in-law and ran towards me. "What's wrong, Grandma?" I pursed my lips and asked in a hoarse voice, "Am I not your grandmother? Who is the grandmother you are talking about?" The little granddaughter shook her head innocently and spoke truthfully. "Dad said my real grandmother is Aurora Shun. He often takes me to see my grandma. My dear grandma is very kind to me. I like her very much." After these words were spoken, I stood there in a daze, feeling my heart bleeding. It turns out that I was the only one who was kept in the dark from beginning to end. I pulled the corners of my mouth and said stiffly, "Okay, go home first." My daughter-in-law was so nervous that she didn't dare to look at me and spoke in a low voice, "Mom, I interrupted her in time and didn't want to hear any more excuses. As soon as she took her granddaughter out, the housekeeper came in. He handed the paternity test report to me and said solemnly, "Zane is not your biological son." I kind of collapsed and yelled, "What about my child? Where is my child now?" The housekeeper hurriedly supported me and said again, "We have already asked someone to look for the child, but there is something I think you need to take a look at." After saying that, he handed me a piece of torn paper. "Found this on Zaneshu. He deleted this page without your permission. I think he might not want you to see it." I took the paper and the date on it looked familiar. It was the day Liam's Zhu was diagnosed with heart failure. I continued reading, and as soon as I saw the first line, my pupils suddenly shrank. "Zane, I've thought about it for a long time and decided to use this method to protect you and Mom. I know this may be cruel to you, but Dad has to do this. I was born with a bad heart and suffer from heart failure. I stopped taking the medicine before, and it got worse. Today I asked Zhu Qinggan to accompany me to the hospital for a checkup, and as expected, I was diagnosed with heart failure. Only in this way will Zhu Qinggan feel guilty. She will try her best to treat you well after I die. I believe that before long, the position of chairman of the group will be yours. I will leave all my inheritance to you and Mom after I die. You must remember not to let Zhu Qinggan know, and don't let her come to the scene. Finally, Dad wants to tell you that I love you very much. And I love your mom too. You and your mom should live a good life in the future." My hands went limp and the paper fell to the ground. I covered my face in disbelief. Why do you treat me like this? The passionate love in my youth turned out to be a scam. My wholehearted devotion only served to benefit him and Aurora Shun. The resentment that had been building up in my heart suddenly burst out, and I shouted at the top of my voice, Why do they treat me like this? What have I done wrong? I have done my best to take care of this family over the years, but in the end they schemed against me." Suddenly some liquid dripped onto my hand. I looked down and saw that they were tears. The butler sighed and said sadly, "Ma'am, don't feel bad for this ruthless couple. It's not worth it. Since he is not a member of the Zhu family, I think the position of chairman is also." He suddenly stopped and looked at me. I nodded knowingly in agreement. Since he is not my biological son, he has no right to inherit my position. They actually dared to plot against me, so I must pay them back double. I calmed myself down and spoke seriously. "You are not my son, so you are not qualified to inherit my position. Notify everyone that from now on he is no longer a member of the Zhu family. Kick him out of the Zhushi group. Not only will I prevent him from becoming a director, I will also make sure he never has the chance to set foot in the Zhu family again." Bang! Suddenly the door of the ward was opened and Zanesji was seen panting and speaking. "No, you can't do this to me." After saying that, he handed over a dozen documents and spoke seriously. "Mom, I worked hard day and night for this position. You can't drive me away just because you're angry. Have you forgotten? Have you forgotten what you promised my dad?" I sneered and said, "Of course I remember. Even if I die, I will never forget it." At that time Liam's Yu's condition worsened again. He became skinny and bony and lost his former steadiness. During that time he held my hand every day and said worriedly, "Qinggan, what if I die? I'm worried about you and the child. The child quarrels with you every day. If I am gone, I am afraid he will bully you. I was so moved that tears were about to flow and I choked up as I spoke. How could that be? Gushing. That's my child. He's not a bad person by nature. I know that. Don't worry about us. Just take a good rest now and don't think too much. As soon as he finished speaking, Liam's grip on my hand tightened. He said hesitantly, Chingon, I have something to ask of you. I don't know if you would like to. I was so overwhelmed by love that I nodded without thinking. If you're willing, I can help you as long as I can do it. Liam smiled and spoke word by word. I hope you can pass on the chairmanship to Xiaoming in the future. This is my last wish. He's just a little naughty, but he's very smart. I just want to ease your relationship. Besides, I don't feel comfortable handing over the family business to outsiders. I understand his concerns and want to help him realize his wish. He agreed to give the position of chairman to Zhang, but what is the result? What they did was nothing more than a carefully planned conspiracy. When I came to my senses, Zhang pulled my clothes and questioned me. Mom, say something. Say something. I glanced at him, shook off his hand and yelled back. Don't call me Mom. I'm not your mother. Your mother abandoned you right after giving birth to you. Hearing this, Zhang paused and stuttered to explain. No, it's different. I've been following you since I was a kid. I sneered and questioned. So you knew it too? I thought you didn't know. I have raised you for 25 years. Ask yourself, have I ever treated you unfairly in these 25 years? I will do my best to give you the best without asking for anything in return. But in the end, all of you lied to me. I spent 25 years trying to train you and still couldn't do it. Do you think you deserved it? Zhang was left speechless by my retort. After a long while he asked tentatively, do you really want to go this far? Are you really going to kick me out regardless of our relationship of more than 20 years? I nodded and said seriously, yes. Why should I raise a child if it's not mine? Zhang lost his patience. He pointed at me and cursed. Do you know why Dad likes my mom but not you? Because you are no match for my mom. My mom is so gentle and kind, and you only know how to point fingers at me. My dad has suffered so much over the years. He has to stay with you even though he clearly doesn't like you. We don't owe you anything. Stop making yourself sound so pathetic. Don't even think about kicking me out. I've got the chairman's job. Zhang has lived with me for more than 20 years, so he naturally knows my pain. Every word he said was like a knife stabbing my heart. The housekeeper couldn't stand it anymore and was about to ask someone to kick him out, but I waved my hand. Because he was my son, every word he said could affect my mood. But now he is just the wild child of Liam and other women. Not worth my feelings. Zhang finished speaking. He kicked my hospital bed to vent his anger, then turned and left. I put the paper carefully in my pocket and said coldly, we will hold a board meeting the day after tomorrow. I will personally announce that he is kicked out of the Zhu group. I want everyone to see what kind of people they are. If they dare to mess with me, they will be dead. By the way, chop up Zhang's body and feed it to the dogs. The butler leaned over and said hesitantly, okay, I'll do it right away. But, Zhang bribed our people who were guarding the body last night. He has removed the body now. I rubbed my eyebrows and felt irritated. Just move it. I'm too lazy to fight with him over a dead person. But the man guarding the body, you know what to do, right? Since you dare to betray me, you don't need me anymore. Just quit. The butler nodded. I know, ma'am. There's one more thing I want to tell you. I raised my head and looked at the housekeeper in confusion. Zhang used the money left to him by Liam to win over shareholders. He even wanted to buy out their shares with money. I was amused by Zhang's naive idea and couldn't help but say, does he think those old sly fellows are fools? I'm afraid he has forgotten who established his prestige in the first place. Go and make some arrangements so that he will suffer a little. The butler patted his chest and guaranteed, ma'am, don't worry. Leave everything to me. After being discharged from the hospital, I returned to my old house. Everything inside is still the same. I sat on the sofa and looked through the photo album. The album contains photos of Zhang when he was a child. I remember that every time I suggested taking a photo, Liam would resist. He said he doesn't like having his photo taken because he doesn't like to smile and doesn't look photogenic. Zhang will look exactly like Liam when he grows up. He finds taking pictures extremely boring and even gets very angry if I take a picture of him. There was even one time when he smashed my phone in public and yelled at me, "Why are you taking pictures? I already told you I don't like taking pictures. Don't you understand what people are saying?" I sighed softly. It is true that people from the same family tend to stick together. I got up and walked to Liam Shuyu's room intending to clear his room, get him out of my world completely. I called the babysitter. Aunt Sue, please help me clean this room. Throw everything out. After saying that I turned and went to the study. I was reading a book when Aunt Sue suddenly knocked on the door. Come in. Aunt Sue walked up to me, handed me a photo album and whispered, I found this in my husband's room. There are many photos in it. See if you want to stay. I took the photo album and said lightly, okay, you can go out now. The photo album is covered in dust. I raised my hand to brush away the dust and opened the photo album. It's more of a memoir than a photo album. It contains photos of a family of 3 from different periods of time. The earliest ones are even photos of Liam Dedew and Aurora Sean when they were students. They were wearing light blue shirts and they were shyly holding hands. Even though the photo is black and white, I can still feel Liam Dew's face turning red with shyness. The further you flip through the pages, the more photos you see, as if you'll never finish flipping through them all. Aurora Sean's birthday. Liam Dew spent a lot of money to take her to see a play. Liam Dew to accompany me to watch plays many times before. But he always looks indifferent. He always gives me the same excuse. I'm busy at work. I don't have time. Even when he got old he remained the same. I feel uncomfortable after walking too much now. I suggested that the driver drive us and he would say again, I'm old now and I don't have the interest to do that. I just want to lie down every day. Stop torturing me. Coming back to my senses, I sneered. It turns out that it wasn't that he didn't want to go, it was that he didn't want to accompany me. Without Aurora Sean everything would be boring. I can't help but wonder, why did you marry me if you don't love me? Why me? Why do I have to suffer this? I haven't done anything wrong. In the end I became the enemy of both father and son. If only I had listened to my parents and not married him. I regret it, I really regret it. As I was thinking about it, the housekeeper suddenly walked in. Ma'am, there's news about the child. I was stunned and asked anxiously, did you find it? The butler shook his head and said regretfully, that is not known yet. But we are sure that Liam Dew bribed the nurse and took your child to the incubator to replace him after he was born. My heart sank and I said with uncomfortably, he has such a cruel heart. We are obviously his biological sons, but how could he treat me like this? The butler sighed and continued, there is another situation now. Zhou Zhenxing has set up a bureau and invited all the shareholders of the group. I sneered. He really has the guts to think. Isn't the purpose of organizing the game very obvious at this juncture? The butler laughed when he heard this. So no one went. I nodded to show that I had expected this. Zainzhu and I at the funeral of Liam Dedew has long been known. Anyone who goes there now would be standing against me. As I was thinking about it, my daughter-in-law suddenly called. As soon as the phone was dialed, I heard a child crying. Then the daughter-in-law said anxiously, Mom, are you discharged from the hospital? Today I brought Tiantian to see you. But you were not there. Tiantian kept saying that you disappeared. She's crying nonstop now and insists on seeing you. I can't do anything about it. My heart softened. I have been raising this little granddaughter since she was a child. She is usually very well behaved and never causes me any worry. I don't want to involve her in the adult disputes. I picked up the phone and spoke gently. Tiantian, we won't cry anymore. Grandma will come to see you soon. Okay. The little granddaughter sniffed her nose and said in a coquettish voice, okay Tiantian, wait for Grandma. Tiantian, don't cry anymore. After hanging up the phone, I immediately asked the driver to take me to Zhou Zhenxing's house. As soon as I got off the car, I saw my daughter-in-law and granddaughter standing at the door waiting for me. The cold wind blew and I couldn't help but speak. Why don't you wait for me in the house when it's so cold? Don't wait to catch a cold. But my little granddaughter suddenly rushed over, hugged me and cried, Grandma, please save Mom. I paused and asked quickly, Tiantian, why do you say that? The little granddaughter's shoulders were shaking as she cried. Dad has been in a bad mood when he comes home at night these days. Then he would beat Mommy. And no matter how Tiantian tried to stop him, Daddy wouldn't stop. Grandma, please save Mom. Tiantian can't live without her. I held my little granddaughter in my arms, patted her back and comforted her. Okay, Grandma promises you. After saying that, I looked up at my daughter-in-law and saw that her face, neck and arms were covered with scars. I couldn't help but frown as I saw new and old wounds all over the place. Go in first. My little granddaughter cried until she had no more strength left and fell asleep on me. After I settled her in the room, I went out to ask my daughter-in-law. He hit me. The daughter-in-law didn't say anything, just nodded silently. I said with some guilt, is it because of me that he is in a bad mood? And is he taking his anger out on you? The daughter-in-law quickly shook her head and explained, no, I noticed that he has been withdrawing money frequently recently. Not only has he spent all the money his father left him, but now he has also set his sights on Tian. He took out Tianxian's money for primary school next year without her permission. When I asked him about it, he started arguing with me. He's getting more and more aggressive now, and he even hit me. I really don't know what to do. The shareholders' meeting will be held tomorrow and Zainzhu has been forced by me to do whatever it takes. I patted my daughter-in-law on the shoulder and comforted her. It's okay. You can move to the old house. I will pay for Tianxian's tuition. When my daughter-in-law heard this, she pulled me excitedly and almost cried. Thank you, Mom. If it weren't for you, I don't know what we would do as mother and daughter. After saying this, she seemed to suddenly remember something. She handed me a worn-out cell phone and spoke seriously. Mom, I thought you might need this. On the day of the shareholders' meeting, I brought my daughter-in-law and granddaughter with me. I settled them in my office and went to the meeting room. There was still an hour before the meeting and it was very quiet inside. As soon as I sat down, I caught a glimpse of a figure next to me. Zainzhu walked up to me and questioned, "Why are you here? Today is the board election. What are you doing here? You're not really going to dare me to leave." I just found it funny when I heard this. I looked up at him and said with a smile, "What's wrong with me coming to my own company? You should worry more about yourself now. Are you sure you can do what you want?" I know his every move. He has been busy these days trying to win over directors and socializing day and night. But whenever the topic of buying shares came up, those old foxes would speak in a euphemistic way. "We are in a very difficult situation right now. Don't force me. Just find someone else." Zainzhu was young and frivolous and thought he could impress these shareholders just by his smooth talk. Little did they know that these shareholders treated him as an appetizer. They come to me every day to report and try to please me in various ways. It was me who personally stepped in to defend Zainzhu and established Zainzhu's authority in front of these shareholders. Now he is nothing and everyone turns against him. Coming back to his senses, Zainzhu said disdainfully, "If you're not here, I can definitely take the position of director. How about this? Let's make a deal." I didn't want to deal with him, so I just stood up and was about to leave, but he reached out to stop me, etc. "Are you sure you're not interested in this deal?" I frowned and said unhappily, "If you have something to say, say it. If you have something to fart, fart it." Zainzhu laughed out loud. "If I'm not mistaken, you're looking for your child now. What a coincidence. I have seen your child and I also happen to know her whereabouts." I shook his hand off and questioned, "Your words are too unconvincing. She was born on the same day as you. She disappeared when you were born. How do you know her?" After saying that, he took out a jade pendant and showed it to me. "Remember this jade pendant?" Of course I remember that I went up the mountain to ask for this jade pendant when I was pregnant. The old man said that if he asked for this jade pendant, it would bless the child with a safe life. Before entering the delivery room, I specifically gave the jade pendant to Liamzhu. Let him take care of our newborn baby later. It was then that I suddenly remembered that Zainzhu was not wearing a jade pendant when he was born and held in my arms. Liamzhu may have helped me realize this wish out of guilt. Seeing that I didn't say anything, Zainzhu continued, "But it turns out to be a younger sister. She looks really like you. If you had taken one look at her, you might have recognized her immediately as your child." I clenched my fists and asked seriously, "So what do you want?" Zhou Zhenqing smiled contentedly. "It's very simple. Just announce that I will be your successor as chairman. Don't bother with elections. It's too troublesome." I nodded and agreed. "Good." As soon as he finished speaking, he took out the contract he had prepared in advance. He took my finger, dipped it in red ink and made a fingerprint. When he finished, he was about to go out and I quickly grabbed him and asked, "What about my children? Where is she now? I want to see her." Zainzhu has a playful expression. "Oh, if only you had discovered it earlier. Maybe you could have seen her one last time. Now, you may not even be able to see her ashes. By the way, do you want to know how she died? She went to the mountains to play alone and was bitten to death by a wolf. Isn't it tragic? This might be fate." I sneered and exposed him. "Didn't you release the wolf on purpose?" After that, the police suddenly rushed in. He raised his gun and pointed it at Zainzhu. "Zainzhu, you are suspected of intentional homicide. Please come with us." Zainzhu was stunned and quickly retorted, "What? How could it be? It's not me." The police didn't bother to talk to him and just went straight up and handcuffed him. Zainzhu struggled desperately. "You've got the wrong guy. It's not me. It's really not me. Suddenly he seemed to remember something, glared at me with red eyes and yelled, "Good morning, my lord. Is it you? Is it you who did this? I won't pretend anymore and it'll just come clean. Yes, it's me." I pulled out his old phone and yelled back, "Zainsu, you are really not a human being. She obviously peed her pants because she was scared, and you're going to kill her." The old phone still contains text message records between him and Liamsu. Liamsu exchanged the child. He took the child back to his hometown and left him to be raised by his parents. He took Zainsu back to his hometown to visit his parents. Zainsu discovered her existence. From then on he targeted her intentionally or unintentionally. That day he deliberately caught a mouse and put it on my daughter's bed, and my daughter was so scared that she wet her pants. At this moment his annoyance towards my daughter reached its peak. He took my daughter outside while everyone was sleeping. He said he wanted to take her to see the stars. The daughter naively agreed, but he ended up leaving my daughter in a den of wolves. One person ran away dejectedly. When the villagers discovered it the next day, only a pile of bones was left. The villagers here all knew that they could not come here at night, so they suspected that someone did it on purpose. The villagers, suspicious of each other, unanimously decided to call the police. Zainsu was scared and he sent a message to Liamzu to explain what happened. In the end, Liamzu gave each villager 500 yuan to keep the matter secret. Zainsu glanced at his old phone and had nothing more to say. He was taken away by the police. Thanks to the physical evidence of the old mobile phone and the testimony of the villagers, Zainsu's guilt was confirmed. He was sentenced to 22 years for manslaughter. My daughter-in-law also divorced him, and from then on the three of us depended on each other. 22 years later I came to my daughter's tomb alone and cried again. Suddenly someone patted me on the back. My granddaughter handed me a plum candy and said with a smile, "Grandma, I remember you said that eating candy would make you feel better. I will give you one every day from now on, and you must be happy every day." I nodded with relief. Then the granddaughter placed a handful of candy in front of her daughter's tombstone. She said seriously, "Aunt, you should be happy every day too. I believe you must be a beautiful and smart girl like Grandma." Tian will always remember her aunt. After saying that, she helped me back home. At the dinner table the daughter-in-law suddenly said, "Zainsu got out of jail a week ago and I went to see him. He was beaten in prison. His legs were broken, his arms were broken, and one of his eyes was blinded." I continued her words, "Are you distressed?" Then she immediately laughed and shook her head vigorously. "No, I think he deserves it." At the dinner table my granddaughter and I were amused. "Indeed you deserve it.